Hey everyone, welcome to my show. Be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch for all my exclusive content. Hello again everyone, back with another Watcher of Realms video. Haven't done one of these in a little bit, and just hit a milestone, or accomplishment this week that I felt like was a good time to share, do an update video, kind of let you know where I'm at with this account. What am I on? Day 165. Okay, so almost 6 months now. 5.5, 6 months. But what I did today was I was finally, well, this week, I was finally able to beat Gear Raid 1, Stage 19. And that's a big step up. There's definitely a transition. It's a whole new format from what you see when you're doing 18. You look at 18 right here, 473,000 recommended power, and just sort of the layout of the heroes and things. We'll just do a quick auto fight for this one. Don't do it as a background fight. Obviously, the layout of this particular fight, very kind of straightforward. There's two walls here. The guys are coming at you from the side, so you can easily stock up your AoE damage, and they kind of just funnel the guys into the middle, and don't really need to worry too much about healing in this particular one. A little bit, but if you keep your guys far enough back, it's not really something that you have to concern yourself with as much. And you can just keep stocking up the AoE damage for the most part. This is an older, I haven't updated this auto fight in a little while. Obviously, I would do it a little differently now. I have better AoE people and skills, but you kind of get the idea, and this gets the job done. And we're just going to jump ahead a little bit to the end. Pretty straightforward, not very complicated. Oh, okay. Interesting. But the gear and stuff that you get out of this one, you're kind of limited with, right? Obviously, you get some great mythic gear, can really help out your people. You've got a few sets, but they're all tier 1 sets that you're working with. Being able to move up and take on Gear Raid 1 Stage 19, you see you go from 473 up to 614. It's a much different power level, but you're also moving into now a couple of tier 2 sets are going to start to drop. Also, there's a couple other things that can start to drop from here as well, including some ascension materials that you can get out of here. Obviously, you can also get demon soldiers, but you can also get ancient summoning crystals, the shards. Takes a little while to put one together, but you can start farming these a little bit, get some more ancient summonings, which is also an excellent thing. And these two pieces, Sanguine Fabric and Smoldering Scales, which can be crafted into tier 3 gear. And if you're not sure how to do that, if you just go into your heroes, gear, you've got this little foundry button right here. Just give that a little click. Bam, right there. Every 20, you can build something. And they turn into a couple of different tier 3 sets that you have to work with here. So once you get 20, you can go and do that. The other materials that you saw in there are used for Ascension. That's basically taking a piece of tier 1 gear and bumping it up. So you have a great piece of tier 1 gear that you really like, but you're like, well, it's capped. It can't go any further. All right, we can give it a bump. We can boost it up. Now it becomes a tier 2 piece of gear, and you can obviously you get a stat bonus out of it. You get an extra, 100 attack or whatever like that. It's not going to change any of your other ones here, but it does bump it up, so it also will change your set bonus. As you see, it's taking it from the Life Force set to like the Immortal Warrior set. Your Life Force set, HP plus 25%, whereas your Immortal Warrior set, HP plus 25 and defense plus 10%. So tier 2 gear sets have 2 abilities. Also another kind of a step up in terms of moving into a larger world there. And if you look at, let's see if I have any tier 2, no, won't let me do any tier 1 pieces. I don't think you don't get recast materials on any of that stuff. So obviously the ability to keep progressing and moving your guys up so you can take on bigger challenges is the big benefit of this whole accomplishment. So how did we do it? That's what you're wondering, right? How do we do it? Just get to the point. Tell me how you did it, because I'm stuck and I can't do it. All right, let's go look. Gear Raid 1, Stage 19. Obviously, there's recommended heroes here. Mages, AoE damage. It's kind of what the fight's all about. Let's see who I used here. I only have 586. It's recommending 614. This particular lineup here only has 586. Now, obviously, I have Praetus, who's a better damage dealer, but not necessary. I was able to also do this on my free-to-play account. That's on like day 150. Still haven't spent any more money on the scout. Still only spent about $100 on it, but I've obviously just bought a little bit. We'll talk about that in a second too. Alternative options, but it really does focus on your different factions here, and these particular. I want it actually. I should do it up here. All right, so we're focusing on our cursed cult mostly because they have a lot of mages and they have good, an acquirable Lord hero, which was done through a shard acquisition a couple months back. So most people, if you've been playing for a little bit, might have a Bizu. If not, hopefully you can source one of the other ones. But the gear they're using, it's all about, crit rate, trying to get as high as you can. Anora is actually a little lacking here. I probably should have a little higher crit. But Anora is probably like the third or so hero, and it really comes down to mainly two people doing the bulk of the damage. Iona being one of them, and Greed being the other. And what was really sort of the sticking point for me, obviously high crit rate, good attack speed on both of them, high crit rate. They're doing lots of AoE damage. If you can get more crit damage on them too, that's even better. Kind of just working with the gear I've got right now. These are all tier 1 sets. Artifacts, get them what you can, but it's the awakenings that started to make the difference. When I had only a tier 1, an awakened 1 in A1, Iona was kind of struggling. I'd get to like 40, 45 kills, but wasn't able to sort of get it over the top here. Awakened 3 increases your damage of the ultimate by 50%. Makes a big difference. And then if you can go even further, obviously you can boost the crit rate at tier 4, and at tier 5 here, you increase the ultimate duration 5 seconds. So it's an extra 5 seconds of AoE damage, ultimate AoE damage, which does have a significant impact. And if you look at Greed as well, first awaken, possibly triggering a special effect. But then here, now you're getting more of a stack of its soul reaping skill. And then if you go even further, getting a crit rate boost at Awaken 4. And then here you're triggering additional special effects and things like that. So if you can get it even further, you should have more success. I do have a couple of extra soul stones I could put in here. I wanted to see if getting to 3 was going to be enough, and it seemed like in this case it was. So that's what we went with there. We're also using Maul, who's also at Awakened 3, hitting people with slow, and his ability to freeze is also very helpful for this particular fight. I took a tank initially because I needed one for the boss at the end of the fight, although it may not be as necessary now. And this could probably get rotated out. Hollow's also in here as my main healer. You do need at least one healer. If you have Hollow's great for this particular fight because of the ultimate here that obviously is healing more targets, but then you also have this giving them rage regeneration so they can do their ultimates and keep powering on the AoE damage, piling it on. So that's good as well. I haven't done any awakenings on Hollow, just got her recently, but obviously this would probably be a better place to put some of these awakened stones to get Hollow upgraded a bit. You're getting additional rage, lowering the skill costs, and then eventually more rage. So Hollow, very key hero. You're going to hear about her a lot in a lot of people's videos. But if you don't have Hollow, for a while I was using... Whoops, we just lost Hollow. For a while I was using Vortex. Just a good healer with a lot of range. If you have a hero like Eloin or somebody better, go for it, but not entirely required. Where did Hollow go? There's Hollow. All right. So this is what we're working with here. 559. I'm going to auto fight this just so we can see. I'm going to pause it a couple times throughout the fight. So obviously you're looking at a different board setup. You're only looking at one wall that you're working with this time around, and you're still working with a lot of hostiles. 59 are going to come out, including a boss that in the beginning stages of the fight will try and heal the mobs that are spawning, which can be very troublesome. You're also going to get these guys coming out of the sides here that have the Ring of Fire around them, so they're doing AoE damage as they're moving. So they are going to hit your guys that are stacked here on the outside, and as they make their way around and they stack up on the wall, then they're going to start hitting your guys on the inside. So that is why you do need a healer in this. I'm going to put my healer, I'm going to put, you're going to see, we're going to start with Greed. We're going to move to Iona right here in the two front squares so they can cover as much of the wall area as possible with their AoE damage. We're going to get Dolores out there. We're going to get a healer in Hollow. We're going to get a third DPS up here in the corner. Then we're going to work on the other side, on the outside here. Aatrox is going to pop in and out, just doing his thing. Basically just adding some extra AoE damage every time he dies. And we're going to kind of use Maul on the outside, and I'm also going to put, that's where I'm going to put Anora as well here on the outside. They're just going to try and do some AoE damage, and they're going to, you know, they're going to get hit, and they're going to die throughout the fight, and I'm just going to keep rotating people in and out over here, because that's the heroes that I have to work with, and this is kind of the strategy I'm going with. You're kind of relying on these guys on the outside over here doing the bulk of the damage. So we're going to get Greed out there first. There's Iona. There's Dolores. Good AoE damage, as you can see. Trying to take down as many of these guys as possible. That lightning bolt you saw is from Praetus. That's Praetus's Lord ability, is in AoE damage. Now here come these guys with the AoE damage of their own, which is why you do have to have a healer. We got Hollow down here, as we said. We're working on here from the outside, working in, and just kind of cutting these things down as much as you can. You can see the boss hanging out back here is throwing some heals. And as you can see now, these guys are going to get weakened as they come around the side. Maul's probably going to die. If you want to throw a third, you know, when you're not rotating Aatrox in, if you want to throw a healer in here to try and keep your main two guys around and then pull them back out and throw Aatrox and then pull your, you know, when Aatrox dies, maybe put your healer back in, you can try that. I found it easier to just rotate damage in. You know, wait till the guy passes and then throw Maul. You know, Maul dies, I throw somebody, I throw a Abizu out there. Abizu dies, Maul's cooldown's up. Just wait until the AoE attackers move on, and then you can throw them in there and get the extra damage. And now it's just AoE, AoE. You can see we're already up to 40 out of 50. Now we're piling on some more AoE damage. We're beating the heal. If you have, you don't have to use these specific people. Obviously, if you have other heroes, especially any legendaries that have better AoE attack skills, that you've leveled up, that you've skilled up, there are quite a few good mages to use for this fight that will make it easier for you. And now we're to the point where we've killed all of the hostiles, and now we're just taking on the boss's damage. This is what, when I did it the first time, I didn't quite have them awakened. I got extra, I moved them up a little bit more. I also, because of doing this all week, basically that's all I've been doing all week, is just running this until I'm out of stamina, and then running it some more. To try and get a little bit better gear on a couple of these people, to be more successful with this type of fight. So I am don't need the tank anymore. It was taking a little bit longer, and obviously, if we do it again, you'll notice Greed sometimes his AoE damage is a little random, which can be a bit problematic. Um, Sometimes it's fire, which is great, does a lot of damage. Sometimes it's the slowing tentacles over here, which still does some damage, but not as much. And it's kind of random which one he moves between. So if you don't get the right one, if he keeps doing, the blue one instead of the red one, it's the easiest way to kind of put it there. It can take you a little bit longer sometimes, but and again, if you're having trouble, if they take down the wall towards the end of the fight, maybe I needed a tank initially to just throw out in front to stop the boss from moving forward. But as your guys begin to get a little bit extra pieces of gear or an extra skill up or an extra awaken level, you'll find yourself more able to take these guys down in a regular timeline, regular fashion. And you probably won't ever even need that. Also, always try and make sure you time your Dolores. So when Dolores is triggering, right at the time your other heroes are using their AoE ultimates as well. That way you maximize the benefit of it. Now we'll take this down and just kind of crank right through it with the wall. About halfway done, half health, which is great. But that's the lineup that I rolled with here. Again, when I did this on my other account, which is completely free, and about 5 to 10 days behind this one. I started about a week after. Not as good a gear drops that time, but hey, it's 2 pieces of gear, right? When I started on the other account, I was finding myself still struggling a little bit, even though I was using a very similar lineup, and it really came down to, on that account, Iona was only awakened 1. So I was only getting this, each attack triggers a starburst, and the ultimate, I was only getting this benefit. Getting to 3 and getting that 50% damage burst bonus was what kind of made the difference. And I could take it even further. If you're still struggling, you can push her all the way to 5 and make that ultimate go 5 seconds even longer. And the same thing with Greed. At 1, you're getting a nice little bonus there, but at 3, you're getting additional stacks of that skill. So you are noticing a significant upgrade. And if you're still struggling, maybe you need to take them a little further and see what you can do there. Hollow definitely helps with the rage regeneration, especially on Greed, because then Greed's just constantly throwing ultimates. You have no control over that skill anyway. So the more often that Greed is using those ultimates, the more chances that it might line up with your Dolores. So hopefully that helps. And then when you have enough accumulated, I'm going to go run a couple. We're going to edit this and I'll be right back. All right, one other thing I did want to talk about real quick is looking at the gear sets. Obviously, something recently added to the game is the planning stage. So if you're in your gear and you hit the other button and go to quick change, and then you've got this button over here for plan, now you can look over here. You can save a gear plan, but you can also just play around with other gear that you have in your inventory. So in this case, we're going to look at the 2 other sets. Now that you're being able to complete Gear Raid 19, you're going to start getting pieces for the Warlord set, which talked about the bonus there, 25% attack plus attack speed. So kind of a hybrid between Whirlwind and some of the other sets from Tier 1. You also have Immortal Warrior, which is HP plus defense. So a little bit of a step up potentially from whatever sets you were using, your Tier 1 sets, moving into those Tier 2 sets. And if you look at the armor as well, some of the pieces of armor, again, there's only the 2 sets that are going to drop off this. Now, the other thing that you're going to get that we mentioned are those other craftable items, which you can convert into tier 3 sets: Light's Grace and Wicked Vengeance. Light's Grace is a healing effect set, which gives you an additional plus 30 plus 10% rage regeneration. Letting that ultimate trigger more could be very helpful for someone, I don't know, like Dolores, like Hollow. Let them use their ultimates more, like Elowen, when you eventually get all those heroes if you don't have them already. The other piece of gear here is the Wicked Vengeance set, which is crit damage plus 40% and attack plus 10%. I have not had great success with some of the stats yet. It's like, yeah, I'm getting new gear. It's like, oh yeah, but I can't really use a lot of it yet because, well, some of the stats you're rolling into, either they don't roll the greatest, not bad. 13% crit is a little low, not bad, but keeping it just in case. Or you get something like this, which is just sort of a little all over the place. And again, you're dumping it and just selling it off and hoping for something better. But you also can get into, you have some other gear sets in here as well. Which eventually, when you start doing Gear Raid 2 and Gear Raid 3 and get to level 19 on those, you can start unlocking some of that stuff. Gear Raid 2 is going to start dropping the Invigoration set. Just has a nice little healing effect bonus, giving itself an attack bonus as well. Ageless Wrath is here, crit damage bonus, and then a stacking crit damage bonus on top of it. That's what's in Gear Raid 2 19. Haven't tried tackle on that one yet, but soon. I have a feeling we're going to do that soon. And then Gear Raid 3 here, when you get to 19, you can start getting Soulbound Arcana, getting a damage bonus every time you cast your ultimate. For certain people, like we just looked at, Greed just kind of throws his ultimate out there all the time. If you can start stacking and get a 50% damage buff, it's going to make some of your fights go easier. Infernal Roar here, just basic, just attack damage plus 40%. That's all. Yeah, just a basic thing. These accomplishments will then hopefully let you advance further in Gear Dungeon 1. I'm still stuck on stage 3 here. Haven't progressed beyond that yet. Recommend is about 620, and it feels like it's similar, but the way these fights kind of work out, I haven't quite gotten there just yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. Should be any day now. And we'll move on from there. Alright, I had paused the video there for a second because I wanted to try to run a couple Gear Raid 1s and get some foundry materials to drop so I could actually craft something, because I was just a little bit short. But I run about 15 of them so far, and I haven't had much success. This is the second run. I ran 10 before, got nothing, and now we're 17, and all I've gotten are a couple of Kukulkan's spirits, which are used to upgrade certain gear sets from tier 1 to tier 2 gear. So maybe that tells you all you need to know about it, right? The drop rate apparently is pretty low. You have to run a lot of them. You're going to run a lot of them because you notice here I'm still getting a lot of gear, tier 1 gear, not even getting a lot of tier 2 gear. And you're going to invest a lot of stamina potions running this over and over and over again, hunting for the pieces of gear, just like you did in previous levels. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will try and answer them or address them. If you have any suggestions of something maybe you think I could have done better, leave those too. Those are always fun to read. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you around next time.